Hi, I'm Eric Edge. I lead marketing communications at Pinterest. This is my 16th year at the festival, and it's been a huge evolution. If you think back 16 years ago, the makeup of the festival was very different. It was primarily a creative agency-driven space, but you had very little representation from brands here. You had Tech was not present at all. Media agencies were not really a part of what was happening here. And so you can imagine the landscape that you had in Cannes and at the festival was very, very different. It's completely evolved. And what the first kind of tipping point was when clients actually started coming. So brand side marketers started to come to the festival, a few of them. What happened was the creative agencies became almost the team that would rally together to have strategy sessions or creative sessions or global creative sessions that they couldn't easily have back home. They would lead those with their brand partners. And so the festival started to go from a celebration of creativity of creative agencies to an opportunity to meet with brand partners and really strategize on how you're going to bring creativity into everything that you do. When you had the creative agency and you had the brand representation there, the first question that you would get is, where's our media partner? And so media agencies then became much more integrated into the festival. About 8 years ago, you had tech really start to blow up, and so tech started to become more integrated into the festival. And if you fast forward to where you are today, what you have is a really well-rounded space that still has creativity at its core, but that brings together every partner that you would have as you think of a platform strategy to bring your marketing to life. You have tech, you have media, you have creative, you have the brands present, and they're all getting together to really think outside of the day-to-day. Think about what can we do to move our business forward and drive growth in a way that's wholly creative. I would say the festival's done a really good job at mirroring the industry. If you think back to just the evolution of agencies, media has really become an extremely important player at the table, and media is very creative in its own right. And I think there's just been an evolution over time where all of these pieces are coming together to provide an amazing structure to create really great work that'll drive growth. If you think back to the core behavior that people have on the platform on Pinterest, they come to discover and do the things that they love. And so much of that is rooted in inspiration, creative inspiration, and understanding creatively what your own individual taste is, right? And that's very different for me, you, or you, right? That's going to be a very different experience. And so for us, the festival is a great representation and a great opportunity for us to come here and talk about that and really elevate the conversation into a thought leadership and industry driving conversation about how you root creativity, technology, and platforms like Pinterest into your core marketing strategy. I think it's also a good opportunity for us to showcase the brand in an experiential way. There's not a lot of opportunities during the year where you have the entire industry together in one place, the global industry together in one place, and where you're able to actually bring the brand to life in an experiential way. And so around our pier, what you'll see is a living representation of what the brand represents and the power of the Pinterest brand and what we can do for marketers. And what better way for us to represent that than to bring the brand to life in a way that you can touch and that you can interact with and that you could visualize and that you could see. And so I think that team's very, very important to what we do, not only at Cannes, but broadly in the industry. It's really easy for us to get sucked into our screens and screen time. And I think that, that's a really great opportunity for discovery, but it doesn't mean that you can get out and do things if you're always looking at a screen. And so if you want to do the things that you love, you can do that in many different ways, but you have to get away from that device a bit. And so I think there's a really healthy tension and balance between discovery in the digital space and getting out into the real world and doing what you want to do. The industry is moving in a place where innovation and technology doesn't just happen for technology's sake. A lot of technology was created because it was cool technology. And so we thought it would be amazing to do X because the technology is on the brink of existing. And so let's create technology for technology's sake. The difference that I see today, and when we think about innovation, is innovation comes in understanding the consumer and real human behavior and understanding what technology can do to help further something within that human state. And so it's technology for purpose and technology to help drive something forward versus creating technology for technology's sake. And that's the difference that I would say I'd see in when you refer to innovation. That's the difference I would see in innovation, especially at a creative festival. Innovation for us is very much visual. If you think about the experience that you have on Pinterest, it's a very visual platform. We talked about discovering and then doing what you love. Well, discovery is powered by visual, and we're truly the leader when it comes to visual search. There's so many ways to search now, and so you could think of it in kind of the old way of just keywords and having to rely on a written word to express what it is that you want to do or that you want to see or that you want to find. There's voice, of course, which is getting a lot of attention. But at the end of the day, visual has such an important place in the ecosystem of search and discovery that I'm really excited to be somewhere where we're driving that forward. I'll give you an example of that. You know, if you think of outfits for Cannes, since we're sitting here in the, you know, off of the beach, you think of outfits for Cannes. It's really easy for me to put in summer outfits into a search engine. But do summer outfits really inherently get at that core look and that core taste that I have as an individual? Probably not. It's going to take me a lot of time to refine that and understand and come up with the words to get to a place that is really me. And the difference, I would say, on Pinterest is because we're leading in visual search, if I put in summer outfits, I see in a split second a bunch of pins, a bunch of images that show to me different tastes of summer clothing and summer style. And I could very easily see, without having to rely on written words, what it is that excites me, what it is that's my taste, what it is that I want to wear when I come to the south of France. Tap on that pin and start to look at related pins and start to dig deeper into that very specific type of fashion. That's a very visual-led process. And I think that it's very easy to talk about everything else that's happening in innovation and technology, but at our core, we are visual people. Humans are visual, very visual people, and that's going to drive things forward when it comes to search or discovery in the future. The very core of social is personalization. It's for people. And I think personalization is extremely important, is going to define the way that marketers think about their marketing strategies, whether that's on platforms like Pinterest or even mainstream traditional media like TV. They're going to think about personalization in an entirely new way. And we've seen that, and I've seen that in a lot of the work this year. For us, personalization and relevance is core to what we do. And if we go back to that visual discovery kind of engine that I talked about, what's interesting about that is that as you're able to define what your individual tastes are and what's meaningful to you, we're able to surface more and more of the things that you would like based on what you've said you're into, what your individual tastes are. And so personalization is absolutely at the core of what we do at Pinterest. And I actually think personalization is at the core of what will drive this industry forward as we think about the future of marketing. Brand is a very, very interesting concept. And at the core of brand is understanding what story you are going to tell for your specific brand. What do you want to get out into the marketplace? And if you understand the story that you want to tell, and you understand what's very core to your brand and those core tenets of your brand, your voice, the tone, that core story, you understand that, then you can think about the execution of it. And just because you want to personalize content for people doesn't mean that you have to change your story, right? You can have a solid brand story and a very, very solid brand architecture if you think about it, and tweak that a little bit based on who you're talking to. But at its very core, you're telling the same story. You're just doing it in a way that's more relevant and personalized for the audience that you're talking to. And so there's a lot of work this year, and you'll see it come out in the award shows. There's a lot of work that does a really great job at understanding that very core voice that you have as a brand, and then simultaneously understanding a personalized and relevant strategy to get that story out across a bunch of audiences, diverse audiences, in a unique way. And you should look at the work because there's some really great examples of that. And that's what I mean when I say we're going to be, or we're at a place where personalization is going to drive us into the future. It's all through that brand storytelling with an ultimate goal of driving growth and driving brand love for your brand. It's been a true honor. I mean, spending the past 6 days in a windowless jury room may sound tough, and it was, but it was a huge honor. It was the epitome of a masterclass. There's no better masterclass in advertising than sitting there going through over 2,000 entries, watching people's video case studies, talking about how they created the work, why they created the work, what was important to them when they created that work, and then discussing it amongst my peers who are truly leaders within this space. And so I got a really good perspective of what's important and what that level of creativity is. And for me, what it's all about is creating for people. And I know that sounds very, very simple, but it's going back to the roots of creativity and making sure that what you're doing is not top down. We're not out there as businesses to create a top-down message, throw it out there and hope that it sticks with people. We're here both as Pinterest and as businesses within this industry to understand our consumer and to create for them. For us at Pinterest, pinners, people on our platform are the core to everything we do. Right? If it's not a great experience for people and it's not going to enhance the experience that people have on our platform, we won't create it. It won't be core to our product strategy. And if you take that same approach and translate that over to advertising and looking at the work that's being created, the work that's setting the stage for today and beyond is the work that puts that consumer at the core and is very purposeful and is very, we can call it personalized, but very purposeful and driven towards a key state and a key insight into the consumer. The key steps in the creative process, not just to win a lion, but to do work that really matters, are first and foremost to understand and have insights into who you're creating for. You don't want to be tone deaf. And that sounds obvious, but I think for many, many years in the industry, we didn't necessarily put that consumer first. We created good work that we loved as creatives and we loved as marketers. But did we have a core insight that uncovered something that was unique and that aligned with what we do as a brand? That's the question that I'd say ask yourself first and foremost. Make sure that what you do is not only has an insight, core consumer insight, but it aligns to the brand that you're creating work for. And if you start from a place that's that, the work that you're going to develop and the approach to creativity and storytelling and marketing that you're going to have is going to be meaningful, it's going to be purposeful, and it's going to be personalized, back to our point earlier. The brands that are seeing success are the brands that understand we have to understand and create for our consumer. We're not creating in a windowless room back outside of wherever we're doing business. We're not just creating for that windowless room. We're creating for people. And that's something that's core to what I think all brands should do, and it's something core to the way we approach marketing at Pinterest. We want to make sure that the stories that we're creating, the products that we're developing, and the way that we're engaging our communities are the ways that people actually want to be interacted with, ways that are core to them and core to their experience on our platform. And like I said earlier, if that's not core to what we're doing, then that won't be what we do, whether that's product, marketing, or beyond. Yeah, diversity is super important. I would say it's diversity across the board. It's diversity of experience, diversity of opinions, diversity of backgrounds. Diversity is very important to coming up with a solution and a story that is going to resonate with the people who you interact with. If you think about us, we have more than 200 million people on our platform globally. The vast majority of our growth is coming from outside the US. You have to have a diverse team with diverse backgrounds and diverse perspectives to be able to understand, create, and develop new and exciting products for that audience. And so, diversity is super important, both in the creative industries as well as in tech. My biggest, it's not even a worry, but the thing that excites me the most, which is what keeps me up at night, is the pace at which we need to continue to drive change within this space. And that is, are we rooting ourselves in that consumer, and is everything that we're doing and everything that's being awarded rooted in core consumer behavior and what people want to do? And the part that keeps me up at night is if I see something that isn't, and if I see something that's sort of tone deaf to where we're at in the world today, then that really bothers me, because that doesn't do us well as a creative and marketing industry to have that kind of work celebrated. And so I just hope that across the board, people, and that's agency, that's marketers, that's tech platforms, that we all understand that as long as we put that consumer at the core, we'll be doing the right thing.